Hello, this is Lara from Create Access. This video will show you how to edit and animate 3D models using Spline. Spline is a free 3D design software that allows users to easily create interactive experiences by adding materials, effects, and animations to 3D models. Spline runs on a web browser and requires no coding knowledge. The animated model you create in Spline can be used in a variety of ways. For example, you can add it to a website to make your site more visually engaging. To get started, go to spline.design and create a free account. You may be asked a series of questions while creating your account and be prompted to upgrade to a paid plan. You can always decline this offer and use Spline for free. Create a new project by clicking the plus Create button and select 3D Design. For ease of navigation, it is suggested that you use an external mouse while following this video guide. The interactive 3D window in the middle of your screen is the viewport. You can navigate the viewport in Spline by using scroll wheel to zoom in and out, holding down the middle mouse button to pan, and holding Alt or Option for Mac computers, and using the left mouse button to rotate. Before starting your project, click on the pre-existing rectangle shape in your viewport and delete it by pressing the Delete key. To import your 3D model into Spline, select the Import button from the bottom left corner of the screen. Choose the 3D model option and find the 3D model file you'd like to import from your computer. If you're importing a 3D model from Tinkercad, the downloaded folder will include two files. Hold Shift and select both files and import them into Spline together. You should now see your 3D model in the viewport. Everything you add to your Spline project will be listed in the Outliner panel on the left. If your imported model contains multiple parts, they will show up under a group in the Outliner. When you need to select all parts of your model, you need to click on Group from the Outliner. If you need to select a specific part, you can double-click on the part in the viewport or select it individually in the Outliner. Select a part or the entire group that you want to move. You can move the model in different directions by clicking and dragging the red, green, and blue colored arrows, and rotate it by using the colored handles. If you import a model from Tinkercad, your model might be facing the wrong direction upon import. To fix this, make sure the group is selected from the outliner. You can use the rotation handle to rotate your model. However, for more accuracy, use the right panel and select Rotation X value. Set this value to -90 on your keyboard. To scale your model, click and drag on the small spheres near the arrows in the viewport. This will scale your model in only one direction. To be more precise with the scaling and do it uniformly, use the transform window on the right and enter the numbers on your keyboard. For scale, typing 2 on all X, Y, and Z boxes will double the size of your model. Put in the values you would like for your model. Spline has a customizable and layered material setup you can use to give different looks and colors to each part of your model. Select a model in the viewport to change its material. On the right menu panel, find the Materials section. The model might already have a basic color applied to it. Click on the square next to Color to change it. Pick the color you want from the Color Picker window, and the new color will apply to your selected model. You can do this for each separate model in your design. The material system in Spline works in layers, which is similar to adding multiple filters on top of each other to achieve the look you want. By using the layer system, you can create more complex materials and looks. Click on the plus icon next to Materials section on the right and create a new layer. By default, Spline creates a gray color layer, which goes on top of the other layers and overrides them. You will notice that your model has turned solid gray, because the gray color layer is now on top of the previous ones. You can change the order of the layers to decide what sits on top. Click on the layer you want to move and drag it up or down to change its order. You may notice that this will change the look of your model. Make sure the gray color layer is back at the top. Click on the drop-down arrow next to Color and select Noise to create a noise layer. This option will create a layer that has a random noise pattern and 4 different color options. To increase the visual interest of your noise layer, click on the square next to the noise dropdown and edit the settings. Change the scale until you achieve a grayscale pattern that you like. Try a low number between 0 and 1. Then, change the 4 color options to make the pattern more colorful. The number 100 next to the material layer indicates the opacity of that layer. If you bring the opacity of the noise layer to 50, you will notice that the pattern you've created becomes half transparent, and you can slightly see the color layer underneath come through. This is one of the advantages of working with layered materials in Spline. You can change the order of the layers and opacity to create different looks without permanently changing your material. To customize your material even more, add a new layer with the plus icon, and this time, choose the outline from the drop-down menu. This layer would add a stylistic outline around your model based on the camera angle. Adjust the opacity and other settings as you wish. If you'd like to see how your material would look without a certain layer, you can hide the layer temporarily by clicking the eye icon next to the layer. If you'd like to delete a layer completely, hover over the layer and click the small X icon on the right side. Keep in mind that this will completely remove the layer and all of its settings. The material system in Spline gives the user a lot of space for customization. Take some time to test different layers and material settings to further customize your 3D model. Spline allows the creators to add different visual effects to the entire project. Click on an empty space in the viewport, and these effects can be found in the Effects drop-down on the right panel. Make sure to toggle on the effect settings to apply them to your project. Click on the drop-down arrow to see all the effect options. Pick any effect you'd like to try, and turn it on by toggling the eye icon on the right side of the effect. The percentage slider next to the icon will determine how strongly the effect applies to your project. The default is 100%, but you can lower it to have a more subtle change. All effects have special settings of their own. You can find these by clicking the settings icon next to each option. Try different effects to see what works for you. DOF stands for depth of field, and this effect will add a camera blur to your viewport. Pixelation lowers the resolution of the viewport and creates a pixelated look. Aberration uses red, green, and blue values of colors in the viewport to add a layered effect. Bloom makes the objects in the viewport glow. Hue shifts all the colors in the viewport to a different one based on the value you pick. Brightness increases the overall brightness of the viewport. Vignette will add a filter to darken the edges of the viewport for an artistic look. Noise overlays a noise layer on the viewport, making everything look jittery. Adding animations to your models in Spline includes using States and Events panels on the right side of the screen. States act as defined positions of an object at key points during the animation. By setting up transitions between states, animations are created. Click on the plus icon to add a new state. 2 new options will appear under the States tab: Base State and State. Base state is the starting position of your model in the animation. State is the next step in the animation, and you need to change your model's location, rotation, or scale to create some movement. To start animating, make sure State is selected and change your model's location, rotation, or scale. For example, you can move your model to a higher position. Clicking between Base State and State will show you the difference. These will be the first and second positions of your animation. If you'd like to add more positions to your animation, click the plus icon again to create a new state. Select State 2 and change your model's location, rotation, or scale again. For example, this time you can make your model larger. By clicking through each state, you can see the different positions of your 3D model. Feel free to add more states to your animation if you wish. Events help you connect states together to create transition animations. To create an event, Make sure the same model is still selected, and click the plus icon next to Events on the right side panel. A new window will appear for the event you created. Under the Action section, select Transition. The Transition option will allow you to create animation using states. Click on the Transition tab to open it. It will be populated with two drop-downs by default. For drop-down 1, select Base State. For drop-down 2, select State. This is the order of your model's movement during animation. If you have more than 2 states created for your model, add a new drop-down by using the plus icon in the Transition section. For the third drop-down, select State number 2. Repeat this step as needed if you have more states to add. To test your animation, click on the play icon at the top menu. You will see a preview of your Spline project with the animation. The animation will play once in the preview, and you can still navigate in the 3D space. When done testing, click on the X icon to close the play preview window. To make your animation loop, instead of playing just once, head to the Sequence section at the bottom of the event window. In the Loop dropdown, select Count for definite number of loops, or Infinite for a non-stop cycle. In the Cycle dropdown, select Ping Pong to make your animation loop back and forth. Use the play icon again to test your looping animation. By default, the animations you set up will start as soon as the web page loads, or when the play button is pressed. You can change this and make your animation start based on a specific trigger such as a mouse movement or a keyboard press. At the top of the Events window, click on the Start dropdown and select a different trigger. For example, mouse hover will make your animation start only when the mouse hovers over the animated shape. If the mouse does not move over your shape, the animation will not play. Feel free to pick different triggers and test them by using the play icon on the top of the menu. These options can help you create an interactive experience for the user who will be viewing your animation. Once you understand the logic behind states and events to create animations in Spline, you can use the same concepts to animate other components of your project as well. Let's start with animating the material on an object. Compared to animating the whole 3D model, this feature will make the material on the surface of the model move. Pick a model from the viewport, and on the Materials menu on the right, add a noise layer. Set the noise size and color as you wish, and make sure that the movement setting is set to 1. This setting changes the position of the material layer on your model. When you're happy with the look of the material, create states for your animation. Leave the base state as is and select State. Head to the noise material and this time set the movement setting to 10. Now if you click between state and base state, you will notice a difference on the material of the object. Create an event and set it up as shown in the previous steps. Choose the transition event and set the first transition to base state and the second to state. You can set up the loop options to your preference. Press play at the top menu to see the animation of the material. If you notice that the animation is moving too slow or too fast, you can edit it within the event settings. The number between the transitions determines how many seconds the transition takes. Change this to a higher number to slow down your animation, or lower the number to speed it up. Using the same concept of states and events in Spline, you can animate a 3D model along a path. Animating along a path gives the creator the opportunity to create smoother and more complex animations. With this method, instead of going from point A to point B directly, the model will follow a path that is created separately. Click the plus button at the top menu and select Path from the dropdown. Click anywhere in the viewport to start creating a path. To create rigid lines, keep clicking on the viewport. To create curved lines, click and drag while creating the points. Use the arrow tool from the top menu to move the points once they have been created. Or use the X button to exit the editor when you're done creating a path. By default, this tool will create a gray cylinder shape along the path. For animating, we only need the invisible path. Click on the path to make sure it's selected. On the Materials panel on the right, disable the light and color layers with the eye icon. Now, click and select the 3D model you want to move along the path. Find the Modifiers section on the right panel and use the plus button to add an Align to Path modifier. In the Edit Modifier window, use the Object dropdown and select the path you have created, and the 3D model will automatically move to the beginning of the path. Create a state for the model, or use an existing one. Make sure you've selected Base State. Back in the Path modifier, use the Slide option to determine where you want the model to start its animation along the path. Now select the State option. Edit the Slide setting again to determine where you want the model's animation to end. When you move the slider to a new value, the state will automatically update. Click between Base State and State to make sure the model is at different points along the path. Create and set up an event as seen in previous steps to set up transitions. When ready, go into play mode and you will see your model move along the path. Particle effects are 3D systems that are made up of a large number of small objects. They can be used to create effects like smoke, fireworks, explosions, and more. You can create and animate particle effects in Spline as well. Click the plus button at the top menu and select Particle Emitter. Click anywhere in your scene to add the emitter. Use the settings on the right panel to customize. You can change the color, speed, size, and other properties of the particles. Birth rate determines how many particles are created within a second. Lifetime determines how long each particle exists before fading out. The longer this time is, the further distance the particles will travel in your scene. You can animate the particle emitter with states and events, or you can make the particle emitter follow an object that is already animated. Position the emitter in relation to the model you want it to follow. Then, in the Outliner panel on the left, click and drag the emitter on top of the animated model until it becomes a child and let go when it's attached. The emitter should show up under the attached object in a dropdown. When an object becomes the child of another, it will follow the same movement, rotation, and scale changes made to its parent. Press play to see the emitter follow the animation of the parent object. Once your Spline project is ready, you can export it in a multitude of ways, including a recorded video, downloaded 3D files, or codes to be added to a web platform. Click the Export button from the top right corner to see the options. To integrate your Spline project into a different website, select the viewer under the Web category. Click on the Copy Embed and make sure to save this code somewhere safe. You will need it to make your own website outside of Spline. If you'd like to share your project with others within Spline's own website, find the public URL option in the Export window. Here, you can copy the shareable link of your project and share it with others. They will be able to view your project without needing to create a Spline account. Share your creative project with others or display it with an embed code on a separate website. Have fun creating, and thanks for watching.